Hello, welcome back to TSC Talks, the podcast where we talk about tuberous sclerosis complex and other related issues such as intellectual and developmental disabilities and autism. My name is Jill Woodworth and I am your host. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today on the podcast, my guest is Adriana Piltz. She is the founder and CEO of Nicky's Gardens of Hope, and she does introduce, and I introduce her and in the actual podcast episode, which we filmed a week or so ago for the first time live. We recorded it live. And just to give you a little background on Adriana, she was on the podcast. I had read an article that she wrote in Scary Mommy about the impact of having a son with severe disabilities. And this article hit me like a bullet and jumped out at me. I immediately responded via, Facebook message and, told her what a great article it was and how I was moved by it, but I also proceeded to tell her all the things I knew that she could do. This was a whole learning curve for me. And she graciously invited me to come meet with her team to learn more about this project. I'd also like to mention that this episode of the podcast is sponsored by Nicky's Gardens of Hope. So I went to meet with she and her team, heard more about what she's doing, which you'll hear more about in the podcast. I won't give it away now. She has a son with TSC, severely impacted. The need to care for Nicky propelled Adriana to a Wall Street career so that she could provide for her family. However, she realized what was out there in terms of long-term care and dropped out of her Wall Street career, gathered her business associates and financial experts, as she is as well, and started this project. And it is well underway to develop permanent residences with a community wraparound services for adults with IDD and autism. And what Adriana and I kind of connect over is the need for support for the entire family unit, not just an individual impacted by this level of disability. Adriana knows firsthand, as do I, that the cost of caring for an individual, no matter what the impact is, if they are off the mainstream, they are having complicated mental health issues, is a profound impact on the family, siblings, and the individual. If we're not able to take care of ourselves, how are we going to be able to take care of our kids? So part of Nicky's Gardens of Hope is providing support for families. She's designing a lodge where families can come and stay to visit their people that are residing in Nicky's Garden of Hope residences, as well developing businesses to support the system and community as for-profit. So she fleshes this out. I'm not an expert in those areas, so I've helped them with their social media campaign and have really been graced by Adriana. Now, I will tell you something about her. She has come over from another country many, many, years ago, and has not knowing English, and really a powerful example of inspiration and how motivating having a child, impacted by something like TSC is. And she's really determined to make this work. I know she will. This Nicky's Gardens of Hope, which is already underway. And I'm excited to be working with them in any capacity at all, and grateful to her for listening to me. I asked many people for a job when I was doing the podcast to help me get this underway, or, went down lots of different avenues and got rejected by many, not many, but a good number of situations where I reached out asking to see if they wanted me to help them with some kind of marketing or social media, and Adriana picked me up. And so I feel like I understand her mission and I live it as well, and am maybe, I don't know if I want to say as passionate, but pretty darn close. So without further ado, I'm going to stop talking and turn it over to Adriana. But also, we are including a podcast coming up the day after I post this with her son, Max, who is talking about sibling impact of growing up and living with a person impacted as severely as Nicky is with TSC. So there's a lot of love here. and I am glad to be a part. So if you're interested in learning more, you can check out her website. It's nickysgardensofhope.com and ngohllc.com. So without further ado, I'm going to say take it away, Adriana. Hello. I'm here with Adriana Piltz. She is the founder and CEO of Nicky's Gardens of Hope and NGOH LLC. She's going to talk with me a little bit about the work that has happened and what her project and her vision. She was on the podcast back in October and gave us the background history of her experience with her son Nicky and working on Wall Street, frustrations with the system, and there not really being anything adequate long-term for adults with IDD and autism that integrates any kind of quality of life. So I'm going to stop talking and just, Adriana, why don't you just tell me a little bit about what you're doing and anything else, and we'll just kind of have a chat.
We're just going to be chatting.
Just chatting.
For now. We're actually meeting in person.
Yep, this is live.
Yes, it is.
It won't be live when it's played, but we're live.
So, yes, for now. So we've been, in October when Jill and I talked, we had this huge idea, and we kind of identified the property. We didn't visit it yet. We didn't know how extensive and how beautiful the place is. And since October, we've been, talking to a lot of people, a lot of parents, a lot of investors, and potential partners as well. We visited a couple of the residential facilities that exist. You can find them on our website, thanks to Jill. Jill updated our website, and we do have a Facebook page as well if you want to keep up with what we are doing. But we did identify the property in Hudson Valley. It's a beautiful 520 acres. It's owned by Cabrini sisters, and we're working on a term sheet to make sure that it's beneficial for both parties. But what is interesting about the property that it sits right in the Hudson, and when I first time walk out from the terrace and I looked at the trees and the Hudson and the peace and quiet, that was it. I saw my son and kids like Nicky and even highly functioning people with autism and other IDD. That would be paradise for them. It's peaceful, it's quiet, the trees, the Hudson, the birds, all the animals that you can actually imagine. And the beauty about the property is that it's separated by 9W, and there's talks that we will have a parents community, which is going to be housing for parents if they want to be close to their loved ones. We're looking at partnering with very well-known person to work on a lodge where parents can come with their children with autism, and we will take care of the kids and adults, that the parents can have freedom and gain back. I believe that being mentally healthy is important, and we as the parents of somebody who needs care 24/7 don't get that, and we feel isolated. And the study shows that the depression is very high in parents with children with disabilities. So give them the mental health help them as much as we can. If they want to sleep, they can sleep. There's a vineyard next door to the property.
Yes?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
There's a Red Hill vineyard. We're looking at creating a spa, and if it's necessary, we're also planning to have psychologists on staff. That parents, being divorce rate is huge with parents with disabilities. So having all that and project and everything would be fine through.
So not just supporting the adults with IDD and autism, but the whole family.
Yes.
And that's pretty unique, because I don't know of really any place that I've heard of or anywhere that has that kind of a program.
No, I believe that if we are successful with the lodge, it's not if, when, because I will do everything I can to make this successful. They will be the first in the world that will support and take care of adults with disabilities, and at the same time parents can enjoy their time and gain the mental stability back. Because, nobody wants to talk about it, but I do feel isolated sometimes, and I do feel out of space sometimes, and I wish I would have a place that I can go, and knowing that, Nicky is taken care of, and I can go and spend 2 hours on the spa and getting pampered, and going for dinner with your significant other, just because the last time you went for dinner was 15 years ago or 20 years ago or never. Just having that and knowing that your child is taken care of, I think it's helpful. I mean, nobody, there's always talks about the kids and adults with autism. Not as much as there should be, but there is more and more to it. Nobody talks about the parents, and nobody talks about the siblings.
Good point.
Growing up with somebody, like, I can tell by the twins, they're getting used to, they think everybody has somebody like Nicky in home.
Right. Just to clarify, so Adriana has Nicky, who is almost 21, with IDD, TSC, pretty impacted, and 2 twin boys.
7-year-old.
Full
of life and energy.
Yeah. Wow.
And with Alex and Max, they literally think that everybody has Nicky at home. Somebody like Nicky. They don't know any of their friends.
Right, that's the reality.
Yes.
Yep.
But at the same time, Alex, it's always like, can we go there? I said, well, we cannot. I have nobody to stay with Nicky. And then his, answer back to it is, well, there's always about Nicky.
Yeah.
So it's not fair to them. No, it's fair to Nicky. No, it's fair to anyone.
So you're always walking around with this, like, feeling that you're doing some disservice to some kid, one of your kids, because it's impossible to
satisfy
them all, yeah.
But at the same time, like Max, it's more caring. I mean, Max is the only one who can calm him down between me and Max, and he has...
How does he do that?
Oh, he just touch him and talk to him, and being very charismatic and being honest, and say, well, I know your belly hurts, but everything's gonna be okay, and just calm down, not to worry. So he does that, and he feeds Nicky, and there is a picture.
Yes, I saw those that Gita sent.
Yeah, so we do need to post them probably on the Facebook, but this is the way they know how to cope with. To give also, to understanding siblings, how they dealing, what they feel having somebody like Nicky. So one thing that our team, including Jill, talked about, to having YouTube channel for, one of the kids interviewing other siblings of the children or adults with disability, how they feel. Because from their perspective, from the child perspective. And I believe that child is the most honest. Not my kids. They lie. Some. But the questions they ask, it's the questions from heart.
Yeah. Yeah, stuff that people might not feel comfortable asking. And that is really important for, I think, society to understand. Because I think if you feel different at all as a kid, if it's not framed right, it can be a setback. So we have not just the population impacted by IDD and autism, but the family, the siblings. It's just by what Adriana's trying to do, supporting the whole family, looking at the bigger picture, not just the individual that you see. There's just so much more involved.
Yeah, and the one thing what we found, I mean, there are places in New Hope and then Center for Discovery in New York. There is place in Chicago, I think Lamb Farms. The one thing what they all have, it's, residential.
Those are residential
service,
programs.
Yeah, services. But what we're trying to do actually is combine everything together on one place, having employment and training for people. I mean, for me personally, to give a first paycheck, real paycheck, not the government dictated paycheck that it's 50 cents per hour payment to a person with disability just because Constitution says that, but giving a real paycheck for the job earned